Royal Enfield Guerilla 450 is an A2 friendly roadster. It is £250 less than the Triumph Speed 400. Now there were complaints of excessive vibrations, a clunky throttle and overly stiff suspension. Now have Royal Enfield addressed this, and should you buy one? I'm going to take a look. I'm Liam and this is Moto Planet. For the money, you are getting some mod cons, and the main one being this, a 4-inch Tripper TFT display. On that display, you can see which rider mode you're in. Using the button here, you can flick between the two. You have Eco and you have Performance. You can go into the settings and you can change the theme. If you're not a fan of the sweeper analog dash, shame on you, you can go for a more digital modern approach. Whilst doing that, you can split the screen in half, keeping Google Maps at the top, or while keeping the relevant information at the bottom. It'll give you call notifications, message notifications, and all your music controls, etc. Another thing I do like about the bike are these rocker switches here. In fact, overall, the cockpit is very intuitive to use. Nothing's out of place. You've even got a nice little USB-C charging port here, which is a nice touch. And I also really like the way the exhaust looks with the bike. In fact, I really like the way the bike looks in general. Now, before we put the bike through its paces, I want to say a big thank you to A&D Motorcycles in Denby. They've got a huge variety of bikes. Go and check them out. Let's see what this bike's about.
Well, what a day for another bike review. And today, it is the Royal Enfield Guerilla. Obviously built up from the, or built down should we say, from the ever popular Himalayan, just a little bit more roady, a little bit more sporty. It is of course a 452cc single. From that single, you're getting 49.4 brake horsepower. Torque is 40 Newton meters, and that comes in at peak at 5,500 RPM. The bike weighs 185 kilos. This bike costs £4,995. It's also got a slipper clutch, which is a nice little touch. Well, that steering's faster than I expected. The throttle, I'll be honest, initially is not that responsive. It's quite light. Almost feels like there's a little bit of play. So riding through town, is it a bit jolty? But I also want to find out if on the dual carriageway we suffer from vibrations. Some of you might have a short stretch on the motorway to commute, but realistically you're not really going to be buying one of these to do any tours. If you were doing that, you're probably going to be looking more at a Himalayan, which of course is the same engine, so arguably you should have the same problems, but it's two different bikes for two different kind of things. If you compare it to the competitor sort of a Speed 400, you believe the Speed 400 is a little bit more refined, should we say. This is a little bit more muscular, a bit more throaty. And a lot of people complained about the previous model that the rear was a little bit too stiff. Now, Royal Enfield haven't necessarily addressed that complaint of owners, and for good reason, because it is a sportier bike. It's a roadster. So if you want softer suspension, you are going to sacrifice a little bit of handling. Right, should we see what this 40 Newton meters of torque feels like? Oh, yes! I've got a few twisties coming up now. Again, so far I've hit a few bumps and my bum has not felt any roughness or jerkiness. I do like this screen, nice and simple. Obviously, for me personally, I'd love an analog dash, but you can't get Google Maps on the analog. Oh, beautiful bit of squirt. Anyway, you can't see that. You know, squirting this thing out the corner is highly addictive. Best of all, I'm not even going over the speed limit. I wouldn't say that's too vibey. There is a little bit of vibrations through my backside. Nothing untoward. Slight vibration in the handlebars, but again, nothing outrageous. I have to say, feels more than capable. Doesn't feel like it's struggling. The seat's quite comfortable, quite wide, quite soft. My back's not aching, so I'm not leaning over it. Right, that is the dual carriageway segment complete. So we're doing 20 mile an hour now. So if you are in Wales, this is going to be a pretty common occurrence. and it feels really steady, really smooth. I'm in second gear, a little bit jolty there, but that's because I was trying to do my visor. I have noticed the weight does feel quite low down, it feels very balanced. The seat height on this thing is a 780 millimeters, so I can actually get flat feet to the ground with a bend in my knee. It is probably one of the most accessible bikes. It is obviously A2 friendly, but there are debates online that it's not necessarily a good beginner bike. And that comes down to the fairly snatchy throttle at low speeds. Personally, I've not struggled too much. It is a light throttle, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. So if you are a beginner, by all means get the bike. It's still a very good bike and it's still very forgiving. I don't think you're going to get bored of it as quickly as you would with some of the other beginner bikes. Right, so we're going to hit a few grids now and I'm going to see if this rear shock is horrible. By all means, yes, it is. It is obviously quite firm, but you're not going to get that sharp and agile handling. I'm really taken by this little engine, and I really see why a lot of people rave about it. It's so playful, it urges you to just keep going and push on. You do have to work the box a bit, but then that's the quality I quite like about the bike. Play about with it, up and down the gears. There's so many bikes these days that are going down the automatic route, and it's just kind of taking away some of that engagement with the bike. And people argue all the time, well, yeah, but it's quicker. Yeah, but I don't care about quicker. I care about wanting to ride it. I care about feeling. So let's talk competition. Now, if you're going to be wanting one of these, you're looking at the Triumph Speed 400. You're going to look at maybe the Husqvarna Vita Belen, and that is considerably cheaper. So it's priced between that and the Triumph, really. You've also got the Duke 390, which is a considerably more expensive bike. But you do get a lot more tech with that bike. But if you just want back to basics, nice and simple, an engine, a throttle, that's all you need really. Talk about comfort for a little while actually. So you've got nice wide open handlebars, I'm quite upright, feel comfortable, perfect view of the screen. I like how the bike feels between my legs. I don't feel like I'm sat on top of the bike, I feel like the bike's sat within me. There's a nice relaxed knee angle, seat's been okay, my bum's not been struggling. It is a very nice place to be.
Now the first bit of riding we did was of course through the town, and I wanted to pay special attention to a couple of things. First things first was the throttle and the jerkiness of it. At low RPMs, a lot of people have complained that it is a little bit snatchy, but I think that's more characteristic of the single cylinder bike in general. I think with this bike specifically, the throttle was quite light, so it took a little bit of getting used to, but nonetheless, I did get used to it and it became very intuitive to use. The clutch was nice and light, the steering was nice and balanced, and the overall bike was, well, balanced. Perfect for riding through the town, to be honest. Next, of course, we took it on the twisties, and it is arguably where this little roadster belongs. I wanted to address a couple of things, first of all, and a lot of people complained that the shock was a little bit too stiff, but in my experience from today, it wasn't overbearingly uncomfortable. I mean, I hit a few potholes and yes, okay, I felt it, but it didn't knock my teeth out. It wasn't crashy by any means. And honestly, I think it added to the experience through the corners. The turning was nice and quick. It was nice and consistent. It held its line really, really well. And then you couple that with this Sherpa 450 beneath you, the torque that you get mid-range to squirt you out the corners is just sublime. It sounds fantastic, it feels fantastic, and all that without going over 60 miles an hour every single time. Now, in the spirit of constructive motorcycle journalism, I decided to take the bike on the dual carriageway. Despite the fact the bike is not built for long stretches on the motorways, you will inevitably have to do a stretch at some point. Now, I wanted to pay close attention to a couple of things. The first thing was the vibrations. Was it uncomfortable? Well, no, not really. Yes, there was slight vibrations through pretty much every point of contact, and by the end of the journey, I did have a little bit of tingly sensation in my fingers, but it was nothing unbearable, so to speak. And the other thing is obviously wind protection. Now, it is of course a naked roadster, so you're not really expecting much, but if you do want a naked roadster such as this one and you want wind protection, you can go to motoplanet.co.uk, enter your reg and buy yourself a screen. Now, what does it sound like? I have to say, it sounds quite good. There you go. So, should you buy this bike? Well, there are vibrations, but they're not excessive, and the shock is a little bit stiff, but it's not overly stiff. In fact, if anything, it adds to the playful characteristics of this bike. And yes, the engine can be clunky at the lower end of the revs, but it's something you get used to, as we previously mentioned. Now, let me know in the comments if you agree, if you've bought one, if you're buying one, and while you're at it, hit subscribe. I've been Liam, we've been Motor Planet. Ta-da.